I haven't changed at all. My politics hasn't changed. They've changed.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about late night talk show host and comedian Bill Maher saying that he hasn't changed politically. He's been the exact same for a very long time, probably all his life. The problem is the general left that you see out there in public that goes on television and whatnot, they have changed. It just so happens when you put a person like AOC next to Bill Maher, it makes him appear to be conservative, although he's not. He's a liberal, just not as ridiculous as AOC is. And this is a really good topic to get into because a lot of people don't really know where they stand. They think they're one thing, but in reality, once you zoom out and really look at them, they are not quite that thing. Now, before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you'll see Bill Maher talking to, Ben Shapiro about this whole situation. And after we get done watching that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents and my deep, detailed analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
But when you say woke, you know, it's become, and I make fun of it too, because it's become an eye roll in many ways. If woke, I assume at a certain moment, and it wasn't that long ago before we didn't have the term. I only heard it, I don't know what it was, 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago at most, when we heard the term woke, and it was like alert to injustice. I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. I always have been. I hope people still understand that about me. But yes, it became sort of a byword for a lot of this goofy stuff. That's what I'm always railing against. That's why, like, they play me on Fox News now.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because you went from the guy who was...
I feel... Look, I haven't changed at all. My politics hasn't changed. They've changed. People say to me sometimes, you know, have you changed? No. It's that 5 years ago, no one was talking about defunding the police. I never heard that phrase 5 years ago. That's not me changing. That's things changing. I'm reacting to it, as I've always been. You know, letting 3-year-olds decide what gender they are. This wasn't something 5 years ago. Free speech, you know, used to be a left-wing thing that we were proud and owned, and now that seems to be under attack. So again, I think I've stayed the same.
All right, you saw that, you heard that. Now, shout out to Bill Maher for doing an interview with Ben Shapiro. The way things are nowadays, 2022, if you are a liberal person and you talk to a conservative guy like Ben Shapiro, that's automatically, oh man, you need to go over there. You're persona non grata. You're trash. You know, you get attacked immediately for having the conversation. I don't really care who you are. You could be left, right, center, politically non-affiliated, whatever you are, however you identify, and whatever you actually are. We'll talk about that in a minute. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll talk to you. It's fine. I'll talk to anybody. As long as you're not trying to attack me or do something really crazy, like you're trying to put hands and feet on me. But beyond that, to have a conversation, it's all good. It is all good. Now, what he was saying here about how the left have changed, it makes so much sense. The things that we're talking about nowadays, 3-year-old transgenders, how does that make any sense to anybody? I mean, really, it doesn't really matter what side of the aisle you're on. How does it make sense for a 3-year-old to say that they're transgender? I said that 2 years ago on Jubilee. And when I was in the actual room talking to people, there was a trans man there, meaning it was an ex-woman that now identifies as male. They had no response to what I was saying. And as a matter of fact, the trans person, their parents said the exact same thing that I did. And the person said that their parents love them with 100%, you know, unconditionally. And they said, look, check it out. If you want to be an adult and go out there and do that, then that's fine. But you're not going to be a child calling yourself transgender and doing anything to try and make that happen. Meaning you can't be putting these little kids on puberty blockers or hormone blockers or anything else beyond that, because at that age, they think they're transgender. Maybe they're going through a phase. Maybe they're confused. Maybe somebody in the family is touching them inappropriately and they shouldn't be. That needs to get dealt with. Right there, their mind is not really all the way there. maybe that's going on rather than just saying, okay, little 3-year-old, 4-year-old, you're still barely able to walk in goo goo gaga. You're still in the goo goo gaga talking phase. At that age, you're going to become transgender. I mean, come on. That's just silly. Nobody on the left or the right really, really supports that. But the way that you see it on television is different because you always see all this trans affirmation and protests for trans and all this stuff for even little children. It makes you think this is the mainstream narrative. And if you don't follow the mainstream narrative, you can get X out of the mainstream. That's what's happening right now. So Bill Maher's correct. He hasn't changed. He's still a liberal, regular normie liberal, but they have changed on their side. Okay, this whole thing about defunded police. I mean, come on. Most people really don't want that. This is something that people say that don't live in an area where it's very dangerous. Okay, you can live out in a really nice area. It's sunshine and rainbows and picket fences and dogs barking and everything's all right. You got little kids running around, playing with flowers. But when you're living in the trenches and things get really rough, you want to have that police presence there because you don't want little terror and little shooter man to go around destroying your community with no repercussion. Nobody really wants that if you're in that kind of environment, but you can virtue signal from the outside while not having to deal with it and say, oh, the police, they're attacking black and brown. It's just bogus lies that people say to get political clout, to get attention on social media and elsewhere, to get money into their pocket. Colin Kaepernick looking at you. Sean King, a.k.a. Martin Luther King, I'm looking at you. Black Lives Matter, Patrice Cullors looking at you with your $3.4 million real estate portfolio off of the lives of dead black men, right? I'm looking at y'all. It's a way to grift. It's a way to make money. It's not real. And the end effect is that you damage the black community who you say you're for. Most normie liberals aren't on that wave. They're not on that. They don't believe in that. Bill Maher represents, in my humble opinion, the normie liberal. Now, of course, he's not a normie at all by being Bill Maher and doing what he's done in his past and his life. He's not a normie, but he represents a lot of people that feel the same way he feels. But they're afraid to say anything because of the repercussions, because of the social damage that may happen, because they don't want to get excommunicated from their family, from their friend group, and they don't want to get attacked online. They don't want to have their business protested. See, there's an intimidation campaign against people if they don't follow in line with the very far leftist type ideology. Okay, so what Bill Maher is saying here is right on point. And also to kind of piggyback on that, a lot of people think they're one thing, but they're not. People think they're conservative, but aren't really. Okay, some people are just kind of centrist, center left. But if you place them next to, again, an AOC, they appear to be super conservative. Okay, you're talking about Clarence Thomas, right? Or a guy like me. You appear to be very, very, very conservative next to a far leftist. But in reality, once you zoom out and look at it, when you see the things that you're for and against, you're just a regular centrist kind of center leftist. You're not totally crazy on the left, but you are a leftist. A lot of people that think they're conservative are the same as Bill Maher, okay? Kind of work on common sense, but still have a soft heart. That is a lot of liberals out there who think they're conservative. So when you see them like always attacking conservatives, maybe a good example would be like an Anna Navarro. She's a stone cold leftist. I think she's just putting on an act as far as calling herself conservative. She's a stone cold leftist. But people that are kind of like her think they're conservative, but in reality, they are just a regular liberal. Okay, and for her, she's even more of a liberal because of the television part of it, because you got to do things for ratings and sensationalism and with a bunch of other kind of far leftist people on the stage. So you got to kind of play up in it and then really get along with them. But a person like her and many others are just leftists. Tulsi Gabbard, another one, a leftist. She makes sense all the time. But when you zoom out and look at her record, oh, you're for abortion, you're for Medicare for all, you're for all these leftist things, but you say things that also make sense. All right. Just because she has a brain a little bit does not make her a conservative. You get what I'm saying? So I think that we need to kind of just zoom out and look at people for who they are rather than just things they say occasionally that we like. Look at who they are for real. Just take a wide look, a panoramic look at them, rather than judging them on a thing they say here and there. It's part of this whole soundbite clickbait culture we got going on. We don't really know who people are. And sometimes we forget who we are. I know who I am 100%. I'm going to always be me. I'm always be a conservative guy. That's just what it is. But a lot of people are kind of confused about who they are. So if you have these adults, 50 years old, who are confused about who they are, don't know what's going on, then how would a child, going back to that whole thing, how would a child know who they are as far as being transgender or whatever? If you got adults, 50 years old, confused about whether they liberal or conservative, how is a 3-year-old going to know that they are for sure so-called quote unquote transgender, and at that age it's appropriate to have these puberty assigning drugs and just ridiculous stuff? The ridiculous things the left is doing, as I close, are not indicative of the average normie leftist. A lot of these normies kind of get brainwashed into it or pressured into it because they want to be included. They don't want to be without a pack. They don't want to be on the outside. But see, if they would just stick to their pack rather than trying to go all the way far to the left in this really small group of people, then they find a bigger pack where they are. That's the way it should be. Rather than trying to get down with the woke crowd, just be yourself and be who you are. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Bill Maher said here? How do you feel about going on the Ben Shapiro show? Whatever your thoughts on those things are, please let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. Shout out to Bill Maher for just being himself. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but on some things I do, and that's fine. That's totally fine. The world, what would the world be if everyone agreed with everything that everybody said? There'd be no innovation. There'd be no advancement, because at a certain point, if a thing is going wrong and it's only one thought process on how to fix it and it's not getting fixed, maybe we need other ideas to actually come in and fix it. Okay, this is why big government is bad, because big government does not innovate. All they do is just try to maintain. And they just using your money to maintain. And when there's no innovation, no forward thinking, the money will go away and the government will collapse. And you go right back to innovation and trying to make things happen, build it up again, then it will collapse. It's like a cycle that we're going through. Now, where we at in the cycle, I'm not really sure. But what I do know is that I'm glad people are just starting to wake up and realize who they are, rather than just bending and folding to the peer pressure of what the outside wants them to be. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.